Yeah, I think I got a thumbs up. So again, I'm not exactly sure what happened to Dr. B, but we are supposed to run through the agenda of the town meeting. So I can take my mask off now. I'd like to, before we get going, I'd like to thank Tabby, wave your hand, say hi. So Tabby is the zoning administrator in Dover and Dover's tech person. So she got us set up. We have a really nice screen up there. We also have our town school district clerk, Mr. Wow, Andrew McLean, sitting in the back with his sidekick. And we've got our school district treasurer, Marco Tellini, over on the side. And we have the superintendent. Can they see the superintendent? Or is he too far away? Bill, Matt, can they see Bill?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Got it.
on the screen. So if you go, everybody should have gotten in the mail your really nice River Valley Unified School District Annual Report for 2021. So if you go in the beginning of that book on page 6, I'll kind of start moving us through it until Dr. B shows up. First item is to elect a moderator from July 1, 21 to June 30th, 22, and set a stipend at $20, $200 per meeting for the moderator. Are there any questions, comments? Matt, I can't see the board, so you're gonna have to.
Yeah, I don't see any hands up at the moment.
Rich,
Okay. Yes.
so you need to call the meeting to order.
Yeah, I did call the meeting to order at 5:03.
Okay.
Second article, I'm gonna do the next 4 articles kind of all together. To elect a clerk to serve from July 1, 21 to June 30, 22, and to set a stipend of $2,400 for the clerk. Our current clerk is Andrew McLean, and as at the last meeting, the last pre-meeting, Andy has agreed to, I don't know why, to serve again. I think because he likes me. Not sure, or he likes the dog.
It's fun, man.
To elect a treasurer to serve from July 1, 21 to June 30, 2022, and set a stipend of $2,400 for the treasurer. And Marco is our treasurer, who's over there that you probably can't see. And Marco has agreed to serve again. Article 4 is to elect 3 auditors to serve for July 1 to June 30th. If Article 14 fails, and Article 14 will be voted on, it's actually Article 15. If Article 15 fails, so we'll just have to amend that. And then that is, right now, I know Randy Capitani, who is the minister in Eastover?
Pastor Bob, I forget Bob's last name.
So the current auditors are, we have 2 that I'm aware of, Randy who?
McIntyre.
And Bob McIntyre on the Dover side. And I believe there was a 3rd one, but we didn't have anybody fill it. And then Article 15, we'll talk about when we get to Article 15, if we want to eliminate the auditor's positions. Article 5 is so the voters set the annual stipend for the school directors at $2,000 and for the chair at $2,500. Article 6, shall we approve mileage reimbursement, the federal reimbursement rate for the month in which mileage occurred? And I believe we determined that was 51 cents currently this month. Mile?
55?
50,
I think it's 51.
51 cents currently.
Right now it's 56 cents.
56. 56.
Is that because the pipeline got hacked?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, it's going up.
There went up big time, 5 cents. Any questions on Article 6? Article 7, authorize the school board to withdraw money from the reserve fund to offset the homestead tax rate not to exceed. And it got cut off, but it is on the official ballot, the official warning that the clerk has had posted, and it's for not to exceed $150,000. And do we have anybody that's new that wasn't at the last meeting?
On this list,
Yeah.
you have Tracy Gamache, who might be new,
Shannon wasn't at the last one.
and Shannon.
Okay,
Wheeler.
so as in years past, both Dover and Wardsboro have voted to offset the tax rate with using reserve money. The $150,000 equates to about 3 cents on the tax rate. And that is what we're going to recommend to the voters. And we also we'll have it at the school district meeting on Saturday, a sheet that our chief financial officer prepared to show that although we got a big surprise at our last meeting that we have more in the reserve fund than we think, we are going to ask to keep it to the $150,000 because of the fact that we are also a benefit of several other buy downs, including our merger grant, which is currently this year at 6 cents. And for this budget, we're going to approve is at 4 cents. And next year it'll go to 2 cents. So it started off at 8 cents. So we don't want to have too big a shock when we lose those amounts. So is there any questions on Article 7? Hearing none, I'll go to Article 8. Shall the voters approve to expend $6,037,600, which is the amount that the school board has determined and be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year? If the proposed budget is approved, will result in education spending of $20,236.97 per equalized pupil. This projected spending per equalized pupil is 16.52% higher than the spending for the current year. And if you go to starting on page 11 is proposed revenue, and page 12 through page 17 are the expenditures. Our chief financial officer did a nice little summary for us. And if you look to page, I'm sorry, but I left my other book at home. But if you go to page 18, that has, I'm sorry, it's not page 18. If you look at page 10 in your book, I'm sorry, page 9 in your book has proposed budget and has the variances. Our big increase this year is in our revenues are down, but also our spending is up at the elementary level, the pre-K through 6, which is really the only one we can control. We're up $54,401, which is about a 1.92% increase. But our secondary is up almost 230,000. So that is an increase of 8.78%. So that's one of the reasons why the budget's up. Secondary tuition, we saw an increase of 23 students year over year. 23 students cost $473,855, which is actually a 19.5% increase just in secondary tuition. But total secondary, because there were some other cost savings, is $230,000. So those are on page 9. Lori did a pretty good summary. Does anybody have any questions? No. Article 9. So the voters approve the school board to move any surplus from the 2021 budget into the general reserve fund to be reserved for future uses approved by the voters. And again, this is an article we've been doing in Dover for almost 25 years. And from what Rick tells me, it's been being done in Wardsboro for almost as long. And what we've asked for is if there is any surplus, we're asking to move it into our reserve And then we will present at next year's school district meeting a much better accounting. Unfortunately, we've been waiting for the last Dover audit to be completed. And the auditing company probably took, was it 3 years, Marco? Good 2 years anyways, to get it done. So we really were never able to determine exactly where we stood. And Lori, being a very conservative person, gave us a number she felt very comfortable with. Luckily, that number was very conservative. And as Lori announced at our last meeting, it was off $100 and something thousand. So we actually have more reserves than we thought we did. So what we are going to do as part of this year's report, that our superintendent is going to look into our structures and how we spend money and what we have. We will be coming back to the voters next year like we did a couple years ago with a recommendation on what to do with all the general reserves. And we'll again have a handout to kind of show what the reserves are what we're projecting the reserves to be at the end of June of this year. But again, until it gets audited, the numbers aren't final.
Richard, can I ask a question?
Please.
So did you just say that we would be deciding at next year's annual meeting what to do with the reserve funds? Or-
That any money that's reserved that gets put into the reserve. So what we do is this article allows us, if there's any reserve, the money doesn't sit in limbo. Or I'm sorry, if there's any surplus, it doesn't sit in limbo. It goes right into the reserves. And we've done that for the last few years, just to make sure that something doesn't happen to the money in between. Like the state says, hey, we're going to take all money that's in limbo from you. So we put it right into the general reserve every year. And then we'll specifically ask and make a suggestion to the electorate next year, like we are this year. Should some of it go to offset taxes, or should some of it get moved into the specific reserves, which are the building reserve and the transportation reserve? And we also would suggest that we leave a little bit in the general reserves just as a cushion for future years.
Okay, but Bill's recommendation would pertain to that vote next year?
Bill who?
The superintendent, did you say?
No, the
was gonna
superintendent's
look at that?
office is looking at our, how we do business as the River Valley School District. So basically our budgets, we just took the Wardsboro budget and the Dover budget, put it together and we added to it. We don't know we haven't really had a chance for the financial office to do a deep dive and see if there's places where we could save money. One of the things we did last year is we combined, instead of buying lunches and buying food for Wardsboro from West River, we started doing it from the Dover building so that it was all River Valleys. Plus, because of our chief financial officer and COVID money, we were able to buy a vehicle to transport the food back and forth through a grant. So that was no money to us, but now we're going to have to start reserving money for that vehicle. And we're going to have to add that vehicle to our transportation capital fund. So we want to have them look at all those numbers to tell us how much we need to properly fund those accounts. We've put some money in those accounts last year, and we're going to ask to put some money later into those accounts, but we don't know what the right number to be putting in the future. And that's one of the things that the superintendent's office is going to make a presentation to the board so the board can make a recommendation at next year's annual meeting, what we should put in. Does that help you?
Thank you.
Thank you for asking the question. Any other questions, Matt?
Nobody's got their hand up.
Okay. Article 10, shall the voters of the River Valley Unified School District set the annual tuition rate to approve the independent schools at $18,490 to Burton sending school tuition for the 21-22 school year? This one I'd like to speak to because I understand there's a lot of misinformation going out there. Both Wardsboro and Rick Thorpe, I hope, who's on here, and I can speak for the Dover voters. We have agreed in the past that we will always use the Burton number because we were petitioned in Dover, and In Wardsboro, it was voted on as the last year of Wardsboro to use that number. We have to put this in every year. It's not an option. The state of law says that you shall pay the statewide average tuition or whatever other number that the electorate votes on each year. So if we didn't have this article in there, it would default to the statewide average, which is usually less than the Burn-Burton sending rate. What we did agree to in Dover, and we have agreed to as the River Valleys, to use the Burn-Burton rate and put that in and not require people to petition for that article. And we also use that number for all non-public high schools. If there's a public high school that a child wants to go to and the parents are willing to take them to that school or get them there, we would also pay whatever tuition that school requests or has announced. We have no choice. So if there was a high school that was a public high school that was $100,000 and the parent brought their child there, we would have to pay that amount. We don't have to vote on that. But this is just for private and independent schools. And the board, I've not known of any discussion anywhere for the boards to not tuition. There's never, I'm not aware of that discussion ever happening. If it did, I was sorry, I was asleep at the wheel. But we are, again, we will continue, as long as I'm on the board, I will make sure that we always have this article being the Burn-Burton annual tuition rate or Burn-Burton sending school tuition rate until the voters tell us otherwise. So is there any questions on Article 10? All good, Matt?
Yeah, this is everybody right here, what you see.
Oh, I didn't know.
Kind of nice.
And I can't see,
It's small, yeah.
I can't see if there's somebody's got their hand up.
I don't know if it's on one page, which is unusual.
Okay. Article 11, shall the voters fund its reserve funds in the amounts, following amounts for the 21-22 school year and fund those reserves in the amount of. So right now we have 3 reserve funds. Well, we have 4 or 5 reserve funds, but we have a couple dedicated reserve funds that are just stuff that we were either given grants or it's federal money and it has to be used for what it was given to us for. We also have established a general reserve when we formed the 2 districts and all our money went into that general reserve. Last year, we voted to create 2 additional reserve funds. One is a building reserve fund and one is a transportation reserve fund. And we took general reserve fund monies last year and funded the building fund at $200,000 and the transportation fund at $100,000. Because some money is going to be spent out of those eventually, we need to every year put some funding into those accounts. We're not sure what the exact right number is. Again, that's, as Andy asked earlier, that's something that the chief financial officer and the financial group at Wyndham Central are going to look into. But we wanted to start putting some money in there and get people used to money going into the account. So we're asking to fund with taxes $20,000 for the building fund and $10,000 for the transportation fund. Those numbers are, at least the building fund is a little low because if we have to do a roof, that will eat up all the reserve funds. But the transportation, a school bus these days costs about $100,000. And we have 2 of them, and we also have a tractor, and we have a car, a food service car that we use to run the lunches back and forth. So for this year, we're asking to fund them in those 2 amounts. Cool. Article 12 is shall the voters of the River Valley Unified School District approve the school board to expend up to $30,000 for the design, implementation, and maintenance of a website for the district and schools in 21-22. This is an item that's been on the being discussed, has been kind of on the agenda or on the back burner since before we were an operating school district. We currently have a website that works through Wyndham Central that we can use for students and for staff and for parents, but it's not any. It's basic website. It's not a very fancy website. So we've actually looked into, and Marc on the board has for several years been working on some information in discussion with what the town is doing, the town of Dover with their website through the Economic Development Office. We felt that the $30,000 a more appropriate number. It's not going to change how students use or how parents can access information, but it's more meant to, or it's meant to assist with maybe people who want to relocate to Vermont and wonder what the school's like, to give them a better, experience on the website. So the board did vote, instead of just adding this to the budget, and I see somebody's got a hand up, I think. But we will, the board agreed that instead of just spending the money, that we would make it an article and let the voters decide. So we will turn the floor over to Marc.
I just want to clarify a couple of things. There is no forward-facing website for River Valleys. We don't have one for any purpose. The two schools have their own websites currently, but River Valleys doesn't have anything. And the goal of a new website would be as a forward-facing for parents as well as the public. So things like Power School wouldn't be any different, but it would be a clearinghouse of information for parents, community members, students, everybody. That's all.
Okay. Is there any other comments? Are we up on that screen too?
Yes.
Oh, so we're in the middle?
See the yellow square?
Yep.
That's who's talking, and right now it's you.
Okay. So is there any other comments, questions, answers on Article 12? Cool. I'm going to skip over Article 13 for a minute, and I'm going to come back to that. But Article 14 is to choose officers, and it's basically we're choosing 3 officers this year. Usually we choose 2. We usually choose a 3-year school director term in Dover and a 3-year school director term in Wardsboro. But this year we're choosing 2 Wardsboro school directors because last year nobody at the town meeting in Wardsboro came forward to be elected to the school director position. So the board appointed a person in that position. And what happens is the law states that if there's an opening, the school board, in consultation with the select board, can appoint a person to serve till the next regular or special election. We chose not to have a special election, but there is a regular election coming up. That's why you're seeing that there's 1 director's position, 3-year term, 2 years remaining. So although they have a 3-year term, they only get to run for 2 of it. The people running are all served, and so they're all currently on the board. So there isn't any new people, and I believe Andrew told me that there was only the people running in the 2 towns. There was no contested races. That's what I wanted to say. Sorry, folks. So then Article 15. Oh, and there are absentee ballots available here tonight. If anybody's listening in and wants to run up to here, Andy agreed to come as long as we were having our meeting, and then we'll sign you up with an absentee ballot. And I think you can also do the town voting too.
Yeah, I have absentee ballots for Dover and Wardsboro tonight
For school.
and for Dover's town meeting. If you require a absentee ballot before the meeting on Saturday, if you are a Wardsboro voter, we would like you to see Jackie or Michelle at the Wardsboro town office to vote absentee. If you are a Dover voter, see me in the Dover office. Call us by phone. However you need to do it, we'll get you a ballot, get you voted.
Do you want to talk about the drop box for Dover?
In Dover, you can return your absentee ballot a number of ways through the mail. Walk it in during office hours, which will be 9 to 5 on Wednesday and Thursday this week. Or drop it in the drop box outside the front door of the Dover Town office. And coordinate with Jackie about your options in Wardsboro, if you're a Wardsboro voter.
Is there any questions from anybody on how to vote? So there is going to be live voting. Live voting. I don't think there's a lot of voting in Wardsboro Center. I put down under the big top because I kind of like that. So under the tent, and I believe the tent's going to be between the Wardsboro Town Office and the Wardsboro Town Hall. And Andrew will be there from 10 o'clock till 7 o'clock. So you can come vote anytime. Please come by, at least say hi to Andy and bring him a coffee and a dog treat. There's also going to be a second article on both ballots, which is Article 15. And that is, shall the voters of the River Valleys Unified School District eliminate the office of school district auditors allowed in Title 17 Vermont statutes annotated, Section 2651B. A couple of years ago, Andy did a lot of research for us. Andy has really taken his job as the clerk for the school district to heart. He's done a lot of research for us. We've actually made him jump through some hoops. We've asked him about elections, and we changed how we did elections because Wardsboro had always elected from the floor, and the people in Wardsboro felt that was the way they wanted to do it. But now that we don't have a school district meeting every year in Wardsboro, this year we're voting for school director in Wardsboro by ballot, which is, I think, the third time that's happened. In Dover, we always voted by ballot, so we wanted to keep that, and we were trying to respect the history and what has historically happened in both schools in both towns. So we are doing that. This year was a little different because if you want to run, all you had to do was file a notice of intent to run. You did not have to actually go out and get signatures. And I think in Dover it's 12 and Wardsboro it's like 9.
Something close to that.
It's a percentage of the electorate, the registered electorate. So Andy researched and found out that the auditor position, as long as you're having a professional audit done, you don't need to have auditors. And Randy Capitani has said for the last 2 or 3 years, and he's done it, is he's happy to serve. He just hasn't collected his $200 yet because he hasn't gotten to go to a meeting. So it is, I believe, the voters and the electorate's choice, in much like some other articles where the school board is not giving you direction. We are unaware of the auditors ever being required to do anything. And sometimes it's hard to get people to step up to fill positions. So that's why we put this up on the ballot for the electorate to vote on. Are there any questions on Article 15? We can discuss it. We can't discuss Article 14 because you can't discuss people that are running for office, but you can discuss articles that are being voted on by Australian ballot. We just can't discuss people running for office. I don't see any hands waving. So Article 13, any other business? Does anybody on the wall there have any questions, answers, comments, thoughts, anything they'd like to express? Anything we should bring to school district meeting besides beautiful weather? Okay, if not, under Article 13, I will be bringing up on behalf of the board at the meeting. There's been some rumors going through the rumor mill that the board is looking to close schools and make huge changes. I just want to let everybody know and reaffirm that the board has asked the superintendent to do a structural study of our system and to give him the leeway to bring back any information and go anywhere he wants, to make some recommendations so we can discuss, not recommendations, to bring back some thoughts so that we can have a thoughtful discussion, cover all our topics. So we did not put any guardrails on the study, but I just want everybody to know that there can never be a building closed in either town or a school building shut down in either town without a majority vote of the electorate in that town only. So if we were to propose closing the Dover school building because it's too big and too expensive, it can't happen unless a majority of the voters in Dover vote in the affirmative to close that building. And it's not the intent of anybody on the board, and it's not the intent of the superintendent's office to propose that we close any building or make any changes. We're not proposing that we do away with tuitioning our secondary students. We just asked so that we would have answers if we were ever asked for the superintendent to look at everything from we run no schools at all. We tuition 100%, which is an easy number because we just take our number of students and multiply it out by the tuition rates, to that we actually run along with running our elementary school, we run a high school and a middle school too, which we very much believe would be very cost ineffective. And it has been discussed, I know, in Dover at 2 or 3 different times while I've been on the board, but we just didn't want to leave any stone unturned. So we don't want people to think we went into this handcuffing anybody. But there is no intent to even make changes, and there may be no changes made at all. We just want to have some study points. And if we do, whatever is presented will be presented in open session with discussion from the public. But again, it's not going to be happening until over the summer. So I just hope that would help ease any fears that anybody may have. Is there any questions on that? Then the only thing we would do is if this was a real school district live meeting, we would be saying, is there anybody who'd like to adjourn? So we are going to adjourn the school district portion annual meeting update, which we completed one in Warrensburg, one in Dover, as we did put in our articles of agreement. And I would like to move right into the right set of agendas. Into our Dover school meeting. So I'd like to thank Andy and Marco for coming in, Bill for coming down here. And for everybody who joined just for the school district portion of the meeting, thank you, Andrew.
Right on.
We'll see you on Saturday. Well, tomorrow, we'll see. Don't forget, Dover town meeting is on Tuesday at 10 o'clock, Corinthia Base Lodge.
Right on.
Be there, be square.
All right.
Okay.
Doors will be open. Big bonfire for the mask. It's gonna be cool.
So immediately following the budget meeting, we still have 3 school board members, right?
Let's see, you've got.
Yeah, you got everybody.
Laura,
Everybody,
Marc, you,
but no Rick.
no Rick.
Okay. Okay, so let's go to additions or deletions to the agenda. Are there any?
I did.
Go ahead.
We do not have the minutes for May 3rd for the board to review. I will bring those to the next meeting.
Well, we had the April 26th.
Correct.
Okay. If there's nothing from anybody else, I'm gonna just ask that we move the superintendent's report up because this isn't our usual night with the superintendent. So I'm gonna move that up, and I'm also gonna ask that we move the financial management questionnaire up and approve pay warrants up. Because those are the only things we need Lori here for and Bill, and they have another meeting tonight to go to. If there's no problem with that, somebody waving their hand.
Like,
Yeah. Go ahead.
like,
Go ahead, Dwight.
Hello. Oh, just a quick one. It says the meeting in Wardsboro is 10 p.m. I think that's in the morning. But that's it.
Oh, the annual meeting, yeah.
Oh. Thanks, Dwight. Good call. Under next meeting.
Yeah. We usually announce meetings at the end of the meeting too, so.
Hey, maybe we'll get more people at 10 p.m. Wordsboro's happy, 10 p.m. downtown.
Okay, so I am going to ask members of the public, anybody, any comments from members of the public?
don't see anybody.
Shannon,
You got your hand.
Tracy, has a hand up? We have Tracy.
go ahead. Go ahead, whoever's got your hand up, like Tracy.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Tracy Gamache, the 6th grade teacher at Dover.
Okay, so
I-
Tracy, you would actually then be members of the staff, which
Yeah.
is fine, but we weren't quite there yet. So hang on one second. Is there any public there that would like to speak? Okay, Tracy, members of the staff, that's you.
Thank you. So I am just here to invite the school directors and community members to the 6th grade exhibition, which is Thursday, June the 3rd at 5 p.m. We would like you all to come to our outdoor event, which will be a living museum of the heroes and villains of the civil rights movement.
Thank you, Tracy. I actually wrote that on my calendar from the principal's report.
Awesome.
Is that a masked event or unmasked event? And what about, how are we doing with restrictions, or is that a Matt question?
I'm gonna defer that to Matt. I think because we are outdoors, my students will be unmasked because they will be, there'll be distance between them, but I'm not sure what it will look like for community members. So I'll give that off to Matt to answer.
Okay, because I think the other thing too is, besides board members and parents, is it open to the general public? Can anybody come?
I believe so.
You can just, if you talk from there, you'll hear.
Hey, Tracy, you want me to jump in?
Yes, please.
So yes, it's open to the public. And students will be presenting 6 feet away from the audience. They will be presenting unmasked. The current guidelines require that if you are unvaccinated, that you should wear a mask. But for anybody who is vaccinated, you may come to the event unmasked as long as you feel like you can maintain your 6 feet. We ask that of you. There was another question.
Will there be protection for the students?
Protection in the sense
Like
of,
a screen or something, or a table so that people.
there will
can't
be
get too
a
close?
table in between the students and the presenters so that the 6 feet is maintained. Yes, good question.
And hand sanitizer.
And hand sanitizer, yes, we'll have the disinfectant shower, no, just kidding.
I have a question for Tracy.
Go ahead.
Would it be age appropriate for a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old to attend? Like, is that,
So
the content or?
the students have taken care of thinking about all audiences. So there will be things for adults to read, but there will also be a slideshow at each student station for younger students, just to be able to see some pictures.
Thank you.
Tracy, thank you. You said 5 o'clock, I believe, correct?
Correct.
And goes till 6-ish?
Yes.
Okay. And I think sometimes the newspapers are here, but if not, it's on TV. If anybody has any questions, they should just call the Dover School.
That would be fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That was very nice, very informative. Thank you for the invite. Is there any other staff that would like to speak? Okay, hearing none, I will move on to a motion to approve the April 26th, 2021 minutes.
So moved.
Okay, Dwight moved. Do I have a second?
Kate will second.
Thank you, Kate. Is there any discussion? Mark or Laura? You guys good?
I'm good.
Okay, all those in favor, please signify so by saying aye.
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 It appears as though the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Peter, are you good? I can move on.
And
Thumbs
four.
up from Peter.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Affirmative, affirmative.
Oh, no, I heard you. I thought somebody else spoke.
No, Kate was assisting with my thumb.
Okay, cool. I can't see it, but so I'm gonna move off agenda, and we have a superintendent's report. Bill submitted the cabinet report, which was several pages long and had a graph in it, and it was in really neat color if you could print color. Besides, is there any questions on the superintendent report? Okay, if there's no questions on the super's report, Bill, do you have anything to add that's come up since then?
Just because I probably won't be here when it gets to the old business, we don't have any updated guidance on in-person school board meetings yet, but I have submitted a formal request to be answered by Secretary French's office.
When do you expect that we'll see something, Bill?
I would hope that we would get something by the end of the week.
Wow, you're in stereo. Okay, is there, oh, I got a hand up. Yeah, go ahead. I saw that. I couldn't tell who it was.
It was noted in House Ed at one point that that information may not be coming down till June or July.
Well, that makes it fun. One way that can be adapted is if you do not meet in a school building. So the school board could meet in a different location as long as it's within the town.
So that's actually on the agenda for a different spot. So again, I mean, the guidance from the state is that you can have an unlimited number of vaccinated people.
Yes.
And you need to have one unvaccinated person for every 50 square feet up to 300.
Yes.
So, I mean, we could go back to live meetings.
Absolutely.
It's just, the reason we haven't before this, and there was a question why we were asking the teachers to go back and the students to go back and we weren't going to meet is, you remember the big reason we didn't do that was we didn't want to bring our extra germs in. We're asking parents not to go into the building to see their students in the building. And I just think it's wrong for the school board is, and as you can ask Matt, if you see him shaking his head, you know, Matt asked me to come to graduation last year in Dover and I did not want to because I didn't feel that it was appropriate, but Matt said they were taking precautions and we're all going to be outside and further than 6 feet apart. So that was the big reason why. So we can have, I don't believe there's anything on Monday nights in the town hall in Dover where we are tonight. Maybe Tammy, for next meeting, for reorganizational, can you check and see if the Wardsboro Town Hall would be open on Mondays, if we could meet there and separate out enough? And we can maybe have that discussion at our reorg meeting. Is Mark Shane still up or is?
Yeah.
Mark, did you have more?
Well, I would like to have a discussion now about technology going forward. I think we should be making an investment in technology before we make any decisions to go in person.
Okay, well, let's have that discussion at the reorg meeting. So Bill, can you just be prepared to speak to that? Yeah, the only reason, Mark, I don't see doing it now is, you know, let's let Bill be prepared to bring forward whatever we may have. So if you have some specific requests or some specific ideas, please send them to Bill and I, and then that way we can get it on the agenda. So people are, you know, are kind of warned as to what's going to be discussed.
All right, I'll send it to you guys, just a rehash of what I presented last year.
Okay, well, if it happened more than 5 minutes ago, I probably can't find it. Sorry.
You think I'm going to be able to?
I hope so. Okay, so there's nothing else for Bill. Lori, you have approved pay warrants. Hi,
Okay,
Lori.
okay. This is voucher 33 for $1,153,334.09. Peter, I'll read it to you by number. 1153334.09.
And that was sent to everybody, correct?
I believe so.
Did everybody on the board get to see that? Hey, guys, I'm really sorry, but I really can't see all up on the wall. I can't even see with my glasses on the wall. So if somebody didn't get to see it or somebody has a question, can you just speak up?
So I don't remember receiving that.
Bill, do you know if that was sent out?
It comes directly from the business office, so I usually am not in between that.
Yeah, usually it comes from Donna Albin typically. And she said she sent it out because she had an explanation in the email because there was a problem with printing. So the checks were off numbered.
All right, that was a couple weeks ago.
Monday, May 3rd.
Yep.
But I don't think we voted on it, did we? Because we had just gone out last meeting. And again, we don't have the minutes to look at that, but I don't think we voted on it. I thought we were gonna vote on it this
We
meeting.
didn't.
So- Right, so that's why Lori just wants it. So I've signed them as saying they're okay to go out, but we just have been doing this at it's not gonna help me. Okay, I'm sorry. What Matt said was a mistake. He didn't mean to say that, but he was moving the projector part. So
Plug it in right here.
it should have been sent out. You all should have had a chance to review it in the last 2 weeks. And then we want to just get a vote on all the board members to make sure that you guys are all good, good with what I've approved. Remember when we reorganized, we set up we usually set up 2 signatories to sign them. Thank you, Bill. Bill's leaving. Everybody say bye to Bill. I don't
Bye,
know.
Bill.
See you at 7.
Yeah, I'm set it up right now.
Rich,
Was that-
I'll move the warrant.
Okay, so Mark has moved to approve pay warrants in the amount of 1,153, so 11,000, I'm sorry, 115,000, no. Lori, how
maybe-
much?
Okay, $1,153,334.09.
Mrs. Twitchell would not be very happy with me. I am really sorry, guys. So $1,153,334.09. Mark, you moved. Do I have a second? You guys are starting to come back into focus.
Kate seconds.
Thank you, Kate. I'm sorry about this, guys. It's not a great situation. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, it appears as though the ayes have it. The ayes have it. So the second item is something that we've all done as board members. We do it each year. It's the financial management questionnaire, school district, supervisory union, and supervisory districts. Hey, you're all back. Hi, guys. So I went through this, Lori, and I wrote down, there actually is now, I used to know all the answers to this, and there's a few I'm not sure of. Like the checks having printed numbers on the checks, but you print checks from check stop, don't you now?
Right.
When you print them, the number actually gets printed onto the check.
That's correct.
So you know what gets me a little bit is I think this form is back from, I'd like to see a date on it because I bet you this form is 30 years old.
I would agree, probably.
And it's kind of ridiculous they make us keep doing it. But just so y'all know, I think this got sent out a couple meetings ago. And there's questions like, do you know anyone who's borrowed money from the school? And have you ever deposited money into a school money into an account other than a school account? And has a signature stamp ever been used for school district accounts? So I really felt that this is something that we need to have Lori's office or Lori fill out, because I basically put yes, and now I put everything is pretty much a CFO et al. So one of the people that Lori and Bill have hired to work in the office must do it all. And then there was a couple NAs like, is there a procedure to ensure that gate receipts reflect the event's attendance? So I didn't know we were allowed to attend a school district meeting, but I think it's a great idea. And if we charge enough, we could probably start funding the school. So I don't know, Lori, maybe that's a policy you need to work on for us. But I think Lori, in talking to Lori, she's going to go through this when she has a minute. And then I think we'll send it out to everybody and review it. And then we'll sign it and get it back to Lori. And is there any questions on this? Does everybody remember this? Did I put everybody to sleep? Okay, so Lori, why don't we do that? So Lori, I think we have nothing else for you. Does anybody have anything for Lori other than thank her for all her hard work and the annual report out and getting the numbers squared up for us for school district meeting? Thank you, Lori.
Headed off to my next meeting. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go back to old business. We reviewed the annual meeting for May 22nd, waiting study implementation. I don't know if Laura's just monitoring us or she can participate, but Laura and Mark, do you want to speak to the waiting study implementation and the good news, the bad news?
Laura, you want me to go in? You can fill in any holes. I'll take that as. So S13 has been voted out of House Education, House Ways and Means, and House Appropriations. It will go to the floor tomorrow, I believe. And all expectations are that it will get through the House and sent over to the Senate. The good news that Rich is referring to is that we were able to get through an amendment by Emily Kornheiser for Brattleboro in Ways and Means, a 2-year moratorium on the excess spending penalty. So that would be for fiscal year 22 and fiscal year 23. Our expectation is that that will make it through the House and through the Senate before the end of this week. So what S13 does is it creates a task force, which is made up of 8 legislators. They will start work on June 1st, and they have to present a report and legislation by December 15th to implement corrected weights. I'm not going to say the weights from the actual study because the report, the legislation doesn't say that. But they have to present a plan to implement corrected weights amongst a number of other sundry topics that they will be discussing. But the bulk of it is the weights, and they will also be discussing the future of the excess spending threshold and penalty going forward. Laura?
You got it covered. We don't know when it's going to be on the floor. It's a long floor tomorrow, so probably right when we're talking at town meeting.
You think the vote's going to be tomorrow morning, Laura, before lunch?
Oh, I have no idea. So this week, what will happen is the speaker will just start taking things up that are ready to go. So that's ready to go. So it could come fairly early. You know, it's going to be fairly contentious and long. It could be contentious and long. It may not be. It may not be. And so, yeah, tomorrow's going to be a long day.
We've been surprised though before. I mean, you know, earlier when we talked about this, you and I, that you thought there was no chance at all it would even get this far, did we?
Right. Right.
And
So,
then-
and
Yep, go ahead.
no, you know, I'm hoping to be able to talk to the legislation that we actually wanted to get introduced and why that's why it's critical to have this move forward next year. So.
So with what Mark was saying and Laura, with what's going on, the committee of legislators to review this.
Yeah.
It's just going to be legislators. They're not going to bring in like the people that did the study or people.
The AOE and JFO will staff it. There'll have to be public meetings and, you know, people will be able to follow along.
And who gets to appoint which legislators, the pro tem and the speaker from their chambers?
Mm-hmm. It's members from each committee or each committee. Yeah. Appointees for each committee.
So that won't be you.
Well, I'm going to ask. I think I could be appointed. I think I'm going to ask. I'm not sure. My strategy of not being inside the tent has helped this. I feel like.
And Mark, the coalition and everybody feels comfortable just with legislators and not bringing outside?
No.
The work's done.
Oh, the work.
Yeah, the bill is a fait accompli at this point. It is not well, we obviously wanted H54. We wanted Laura's bill from the beginning. But what it comes down to is we feel that this is a reasonable enough compromise that that we've been continuing to push it and stand behind it to just get the task force started.
Yeah.
And that's the work's going to start June 1st.
So
the entire summer. It's going to.
Yeah, this is a political task force. This is a political task force. And so when I said the work is done, I mean, the work, like the report was comprehensive and quality work. So trying to figure out what needs to happen, like in terms of the technical aspects of that is done. That work is done. Now it is, how do we roll this in a way that causes the least amount of political headaches? That's what the political task force will be working on, basically.
Okay.
Because we could have rolled this in this year, but there were too many political headaches that were not addressed. So.
Are there any questions you, Laura or Mark. Okay, thank you, guys. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to make one, presuming that it happens tomorrow, that we get it through, and I am presuming that. I think it's important to note, the speaker, there is significant opposition to this, in the House. And so the speaker and majority leader heard from a lot of people, and that was important for them to hear from a lot of people, including their constituents. And of course, the majority leader is Emily Long from our STU. So I just want to note how critical it is to speak to your legislators about issues of import and not just be frustrated or throw up your hands or assume it's done. So that's it. Thank you, Richard.
Well, thank you, Laura. I know this is something you've been working on for 20 years. And Mark, thank you. You've done a lot of getting people organized into, writing letters. I saw there was an email. I saw it today. You sent an email out over the weekend. I think Friday maybe to send a letter to your legislators, but I was a little slow.
Yeah, I'm going to play off of what Laura said about the importance of contacting your legislators. I will promise you that I will try to hold back on action alerts as much as possible. But when I send them, it's because we really need the legislators to hear from you guys. So I'm just going to ask you guys when I do send them to send those letters. It's really important, and it has made them hearing from people has made the difference. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And that's something Laura's always said too, that if you want something done, get a lot of people to contact. Are we all good with everybody? You want to move on? Mark, VSBA resolutions.
So the clerk of the Burlington School District is putting together a VSBA resolution, which would go a couple steps beyond the motions that we currently have as far as getting the corrected weights from the pupil weighting factors report implemented. And what the coalition is going to do is take that and send it out to all of our members and try to get as many to sign onto it as possible. That will be available sometime between now and June 2nd. And I will send it as soon as I know when it will be available. Well, actually, we can get it, if not before, we can get on the agenda for June 7th for sure. We can decide whether to sign on to it at that time or not.
Okay, is there any other thoughts or ideas, comments? So where do we go, Mark?
As far as the resolution goes, I don't see any reason to write our own for the purpose of getting the weights implemented. The resolutions committee is going to be meeting, and if there are multiple resolutions that cover the same topic, they are going to try to combine them all. So our goal is to present one well-backed resolution. So I'd say just hold tight until I have the text to send out to everybody.
Okay, that's specific to the weighting study, right?
Correct.
But was there anything else too? Because you had asked before. So does anybody think of a resolution too that we'd like to present on any topic? There is, we didn't get it in time for this meeting, but I believe, is it this Wednesday or next Wednesday we meet for Wyndham Central?
Off the top of my head.
Mark or Rick, do you know when's our next Wyndham Central?
I thought it was until June 16th.
No, is it June 16th or June?
Yeah.
Okay, I know that there was a request that we're going to take up at the executive committee this week on Thursday from a superintendent on behalf of a school board about, I can't remember what it was called. It was something to do with equity, not like funding equity, but I believe I'm out of my element, guys. I don't have my computer here. But I'll get that. I'll ask Bill to send that out to the entire board. I think we kind of covered it in the policy we adopted. Laura had requested us to look at, and we adopted, I believe, in the fall. Laura, what was the policy you had asked us to move forward?
If you hold on a second.
The equity policy.
I can give you details if you hold on a second.
Well, Mark, why don't we do this? Just send that out. If you've got that, can you send that to Bill and ask him to forward it to all the board members?
Sure.
And then take a look at that, and the executive committee is going to discuss that. So if the River Valley board has any comments, let me know, and I'll, express them at the meeting on Thursday. So we're all set on VSBA resolutions. Our next item is website article reasoning. Mark, yes, again.
I'm sorry, what was that, Rick?
So website article reasoning. I kind of missed it. We should have just moved this up to the budget informational meeting. Did you have anything else you want to throw in about the website article that we're going to discuss on Saturday?
I was actually going to put a argument into letter format and send it along with you, since I'm not going to be able to attend the meeting. I don't have it formulated as of yet, though.
Okay, just get that to me. Give me a holler towards the middle of the week or end of the week, whenever you get it, okay?
Yep. And just since I just announced that I won't be attending the meeting, the reason I'm not attending the meeting is that I'm having surgery on Monday, the 24th. And on Thursday, I have to have a COVID test. And then I have to be in quarantine between then and my surgery.
So I had a friend who needs open heart surgery, and at the garage, we just got a whole new collection of clamps and hose. I got some 50-foot spools of different size hose, and I was going to volunteer. Told him, we had a knife that wasn't too rusty. We could do the surgery. I'll extend you the same offer if you want, Mark, and we can do it maybe Wednesday night, and then you could come on Saturday.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you a call and we can discuss.
Okay, because I won't charge you much. Does anybody else have any old business? Okay, hearing none, let's go to new business. Principals report. We have two principals, one live and one Memorex. Tammy, I'm sorry, before we move on, we did get submitted a nicely written principals report. I'm going to pull out the portion about requesting some additional professional development time. We'll discuss that afterwards, but other than the professional development time, is there any questions on the principal's report? Seeing none and seeing at least one head shaking no. Matt and Tammy, I'll let you go first, Tammy, because you're on the screen, the big screen. Do you have anything to add to the principal's report other than the professional development?
I hope we have it covered.
Okay, it was a nice report. Matt, you all good? Good. Okay, so Matt and Tammy have a request in their principal's report to ask for some more professional development time. So they're looking to get 6 extra early release half days spread out throughout the year. And they also mentioned that Marlboro is taking 16 early release days. But they'd like to look at the same model that West River is using. So who wants to speak to that matter, Tammy?
Tammy, you want to start with?
I can certainly go. And I looked back because I remember having this conversation last year. And I did look back through the meeting notes, and we did talk about it on May 4th of 2020. Nothing was formally decided. You guys had liked the concept, but it wasn't formally approved. So basically, Matt and I are asking for 6 early release days, basically one every month, for additional time to work with the staff to focus on, at Wardsboro, the STEAM focus, and then at Dover, it would be focusing on IB. We feel, or I know for Wardsboro, this will, going into next year, it will be our 3rd year for the STEAM focus. We really were beginning to gain a lot of traction last year, and then COVID hit. This year, we really, with all of the extra things that we were, doing due to COVID and all the guidelines and whatnot, we really didn't have a lot of time to devote to a lot of planning. We did use our, any minute that we could during our staff meetings, but as you can imagine, 1 hour for a staff meeting really isn't a ton of time to devote to the program focus. So that's why we're asking for these additional days. The West River groups have had a lot of success. They've really, use the time wisely, and all of the principals I know in that district say that the time really is invaluable, and just moving any sort of initiative forward, it's really important that we be able to dedicate the time to it.
Thank you, Tammy.
Sure.
Matt, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'll just add that, it's like Tammy said, we kept things going this year as best we could. We did not have the ski days that we usually have in the middle of the year to work on the focus areas, but the issue isn't so much the middle of the year, it's throughout. It's the maintenance that needs to happen, the collaboration between teachers during the year that needs to be part of the regular program development. So while we were able to maintain this year, I don't want to speak for Wardsboro, but in Dover, we don't feel like we were able to grow the program. And so this would really be this would allow us to be able to grow the program. And I think that's probably true for STEAM as well. So we thought the 6 days was a good starting point to see how that would work and how that would serve us and serve the programs. And we think probably 16 would be too much. So maybe going with what West River's doing seemed to be a good starting point.
Thank you.
I do have one more thing to add too, Rich, and just that is there are 8 PD days built into our calendar already. However, all of those days are already planned for next year with our keys to literacy training, as well as the anti-bias work that we've committed to for next year.
Thank you, Tammy. Is there any questions for Matt or Tammy from anybody, board, or there's not that many people on or the public staff?
Rich, it's Sue Newman. May I just make a comment?
Sue, we always love to hear from you, and we
Okay.
haven't a lot lately, so go, please.
I've been listening in, as the association rep and as coordinator, but I just want to echo what Matt said. When we received our authorization report, we had many commendations, but one of the recommendations was that we find a way to increase our collaboration time to enhance our IB culture. And these 6 afternoons would certainly be a start toward that.
Thank you, Sue. Any other comments from anybody, staff or board? Dwight?
Yeah, I think it's great. I was just wondering, half days can be kind of a burden on working parents. I was wondering, is there a way to, or could there be a way to keep the children in school and still have the program, or is it that they need to be released in order to accommodate that?
So I bet you I can even answer that one. So Matt, Tammy, see if I do good. Because I used to bring that up all the time too, Dwight, because it, you know, a lot of times it helps with people and with childcare and for people planning. But the problem is they have to then have staff. The students will still be in the building. They have to have so much staff to monitor those students. You know, we talked about maybe doing like an arts and craft program in the afternoon, but then you have to have time to plan those. So it becomes a real burden on everybody. Now, if a couple board members like wanted to volunteer to take all the students, I bet you that there would be some administrators that would jump up and down and say yay. But I think it creates a lot of difficulties, and it doesn't allow for full participation because something will happen, administrator will get called out of the meeting, and then, you know, they're supposed to be working with the staff, and it just created a bunch of issue. We actually did try it at one time and it didn't work.
Okay. It makes sense. And just one follow-up. You mentioned about, Matt, you mentioned about the ski program, and is that time also allocated, you know, for next year, or is that something that's still open?
And to talk about both schools if you can.
Yeah. So usually both schools participate in the winter program at Mount Snow, and it was not able to happen last year, but we hope it will happen this year. We just haven't heard yet. And as Tammy mentioned before, the other schools that are doing this, they don't have a focus that we have. So each one of our schools has a focus. So we're trying to fit in all of the district initiatives and the time and all those other basic academic needs, and then add this focus on top of that. So I don't know if that really answers your question about the ski program, but you know, that's sort of one more viewpoint on it.
So Dwight, I had that as an, oh, Tammy, I'm sorry.
No, I had a thought in that I was hoping that we could actually do our ski program on Wednesdays. So maybe, you know, there could be a day that might overlap so that it wouldn't be an additional day. So I'm going to really pitch to Mount Snow that Dover and Wardsboro get Wednesday afternoons, and that might alleviate.
Yeah, and Dwight, I had that note and I mentioned it to Matt earlier. Because one of the things we did is, you know, and again, this goes back to my earlier comment. So Dover at one time voted to do away with the ski program. And we had a new administrator come in, and they almost tarred and feathered the board and the total administration. And that was when I first became chairman, and I was the only one that voted against it. But because I just felt so strongly we should discuss it with the parents, and we had a lot of parents there. So the result of that was that instead of the staff taking care of the ski program, that parents would do it, so that we would allow the staff all that extra time, those afternoons, to be to take care of and work with on professional development. And the administrator at the time, that's when we started going to differential instruction and guilt and art, a whole bunch of stuff I can't even remember. And it worked out really well. But what happened was the parents had agreed to take care of the program in the beginning. Their children then graduated out, and it became very difficult because one of the things we requested was that along with winter sports, there had to be a program, an in-school program for those students that didn't want to ski. And it actually became so difficult that nobody was doing the in-school programs. And we tried, you know, one parent would do cooking one week, and I did first aid one time for them. So it became, again, a burden on the administration then to say, oh, the parent didn't show up today, all the students are here. So it's not as easy to do, but I would like Matt and Tammy to maybe come back to us next meeting with how they can fit that in. The other thing is, you know, that comes in a real intense little chunk of time. It's all 6 weeks in a row or 8 weeks in a row, which is really good if they want to do some type of certification class, but they also need that time throughout the entire year so that they can work and address issues as it comes up, instead of saying in September, oh, we have an issue, but we're not going to deal with it till February or March. So I want to ask, is there anybody on the board that is opposed to this, but maybe we ask the administrators just to work with their coordinators, because I know we have a coordinator for STEAM in Wardsboro, and we have a couple coordinators in Dover for IB, is the administration to work with the coordinators and just also use, maybe we only have to do 5 days and we can use 1 ski day. But if there is no ski program, I understand that it'll have to be a half day. So in concept, is anybody against it? Or does anybody have any concerns or issues? Because I'd like to give it to Matt and Tammy now so that they can come back and answer our questions at the next meeting, and we can take care of this, either vote for it or not. So Mark, I'm going to just finish with Dwight because I kind of took over his question. Are you okay with it in concept, Dwight?
Yeah, that sounds perfect, Rich. I think that makes sense. I understand that the ski program is only in this, in the middle part of the year, so obviously they'll need time on either end of that as well. But if they can just incorporate that, that would make perfect sense.
Okay, Mark, go ahead. Your thoughts?
So I think professional development is extremely important. So I'm 100% for this. The one thing I will throw out there, which may be very unpopular, but I think that when we come around to contract negotiations again, we should start considering extend the school year.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Laura or Kate, any thoughts? Go ahead.
I definitely think that, the professional development time is very needed. If there's, we lost the laughter program this year, essentially. I know they did some virtual elements, but honestly, that's just not the same as what parents need. So I was wondering if you could just inquire with the laughter programming office, if there's any way that they could offer some type of care from noontime to 5 p.m. on those days, because that's a big hit for parents. But I totally understand that it's a needed thing, and 6 days isn't a lot over the course of the year, but we've got a lot of things that add up. So just request to dig into it with the laughter folks.
Matt, take those in the minutes too, so we remember that.
Yes.
Thank you. Laura?
Yeah, I guess just a question, and I'm generally in support of this. If we do this in 5 years, what would you hope would be the outcome that we would be seeing in the schools?
You want to go first, Tam?
I don't think so.
Go ahead, Matt, if you want.
Well, in 5 years, I love that question, Laura, by the way. Thank you. In 5 years, I always would like to see things really systematic and settled down and part of the culture of the school. So in 5 years, we have a really great induction program for new teachers. We have a great mentor program for new teachers. And essentially a 5-year plan for staff to develop their own skills and their own abilities around the program so that it can just become more natural for them. So that's what I hope for in 5 years. If we could do this for 5 years, wow, I think that would really give us the time that we need to get the collaboration in, the planning in, the systems in place so that things are smoother and just more part of the culture. I don't know if that cover it, Laura?
That's great.
Yeah.
And in 5 years, well, 4 years, we would be on our next self-study. And so that would tie in perfectly. We would be in really great shape if we've had that time.
Okay, great.
So I just want to weigh in a little bit. And Dwight, I agree with everything that's been said. So one of the things we had done with the Dover contract, Sue Newman came to a meeting one time, and I remember this comment so vividly. I remember very little, Sue, but I remember this.
Uh-oh.
No, this was good because you made a comment one time. We were talking about something Wyndham Central wanted to do. And I remember you said, we don't have enough time with our students.
Right.
And I know that Susan Matt said, but we also need to have time to work with each other and to get better in professional development. And I was really not against adding professional development days. That was why I thought the ski program was such an excellent compromise. And, it was really then when we started improving our test scores. So I agree that professional development is so important, but I don't think it's something that we can say this is for the next 5 years or 10 years. I think it's going to be a forever thing because staff changes. And IB is not like a program that every teacher takes in teacher school. I know some of the stuff we did back when Susan Mack started, is now more mainstream, and inclusionary is much more something that our staff comes prepared to do, where, it seems like before that it was send everybody to the resource room. So I think it's more of a permanent thing. And Dwight, we did set that up in the contract to allow us. We did extend the school year because we want to take both what both the Susan said, keep the amount of time that the staff has to spend with their students, but also give the staff time to work with each other and to work on professional development. So I think we're all in agreement then. So Matt and Tammy, you folks just need to come up with a plan. We do have I think we used to have more days in Wyndham Central, the other Wyndham Central contracts. And Mark, so we can use those. And I think come up with a good plan to utilize the ski program. And let's just assume eventually we're gonna have ski program again. And I think Kate's idea was fantastic. Is there some grants or is there some money out there, especially with all the COVID money, to work on maybe even giving you some additional days that the students can be, challenged also, and have something for them to do that is educational, maybe, stuff like prepare for the program that Tracy talked about or prepare for STEAM. So if we're all good with that, let's move that forward, okay? And Matt and Tammy will look for a more report of, a new report next meeting, and we'll, whatever we need to do to make a motion to support you folks. But there's nobody that's not supporting you guys. So good job, and thank you for bringing that forward.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, is everybody good to move on? And in kind of that vein, recommend teacher hired to the board.
So quick update. We finished interviews last week and we're ready to have a discussion in executive session about presenting a candidate.
Okay, so in executive session, we'll have a more in-depth discussion on that. If there's nothing else for new business, anybody? Go ahead, Mark. I see your hand moving.
So, Rick was going to bring this up, but he's not here. And I'm a little comfortable doing it, but it's important, so I'm going to do it anyway. The coalition is in a position now where we have started taking in the funds that have been committed by school boards across the state. I will not make a motion, but I will ask that you all consider making a donation to the coalition to help further fund our lobbying efforts. There are boards that have put in as much as 3,000. Marlboro started at 500 and is probably upping that to 1,500. That's all what we have taken in so far is a small percentage of what we're going to need to make it through the next year. We have confirmation from the Agency of Education that state funds, meaning money in our budget, can be used for this purpose. And we have legal advice on how districts should do the record keeping for it. So it's a legitimate expense. And what I'd ask you all to consider is that because of the excess penalty moratorium, I don't know how much the total amount is that we're saving, but that's 12 cents on a tax rate right there. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm happy to take any questions.
It's not actually 12 cents, Mark. It's because that included the buy down from the merger grant.
What Lori sent out said 12 cents.
That was total. That was not just the excess spending penalty. The excess spending penalty, I'm trying to find it, was only a few cents on the tax rate, but a penny on the tax rate raises about $20,000 this year is what it looks like. Lori's number included that's why we need to get that change. Was it included the buy down and included some other things that but it's easily 20,000. It saved us over $20,000 if that happens. So you want to throw a number out there, Mark?
I'd ask for 3,000, but like I said, I'm not gonna. I think it would be a conflict for me to make the actual motion, so I won't.
No, I really don't think it is, and I'll tell you why. Because you are representing this board. We asked you and Rick to represent this board on that group, and it's none of the money's going in your pocket, is it?
No. Well, I will receive it as the executive director and deposit it into the bank, but no, I don't get to keep any of it.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't get paid. It's my job as executive director is all volunteer. So.
Okay.
So if you're comfortable, then I'm going to move that River Valleys donate 3,000 to the Coalition for Vermont Student Equity to continue to further the efforts to lobby the legislature to enact the people waiting factors report recommendations.
Is there a second to Mark's motion?
I'll second it. It's Dwight.
So discussion, Mark, you've said a lot. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions though.
Dwight, any questions you have? Or any comments you want to make?
No, I trust in what Mark recommends. He's been on the front lines for this program, and I trust the money will be well spent in our efforts.
Okay. And I made a comment that I felt Mark would be, I didn't think it was a conflict for him to make the motion. But if anybody else feels it is, please let me know. I don't see any conflict there. Does anybody else feel it is a conflict, or does anybody else not feel comfortable with that having been done that way? Speak now, forever hold your peace. Okay. Is there any other discussion, or are you guys ready to vote? You all ready to vote?
I might read the motion just in case I got something wrong.
Go ahead.
To make a donation to the Coalition for Vermont Student Equity in the amount of $3,000 for the purpose of lobbying efforts for implementation of the weighting study recommendations.
Okay, that's good. The only other thing I will throw out there, the town of Dover did sponsor a lobbyist to assist in these efforts, and a lot of the stuff that happened was also a result of the town of Dover's lobbying efforts. And the reason the town of Dover has always done it is because that's a 1-for-1 raise. I just wonder if that's almost like double dipping against the Dover taxpayers. Because they're gonna have to pay the increased school rate or the portion of the school part of it and the town part of it. So just, I'd like to just bring that up and if that changes anybody's thought process or. Okay, hearing nothing, are you all ready to vote?
Laura's hand is up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Laura, go ahead.
As a point of information, I would note that the two lobbyists had two different strategies that were being employed. One was more external with the coalition. One was more internal with leadership. Without comment, I will just add that as information.
And Rich, I don't know if you want to know now or not, but I do feel uncomfortable voting. I am going to abstain on this vote.
Okay. Laura, are you all set or do you have your hand up again? Did you just...
All set.
Okay. So you all ready to vote, folks? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Okay, is there anybody opposed to the motion? And are there any abstentions?
Yes, I will abstain.
Okay, I'm not going to be like somebody I saw the other day and tell you have to vote. As far as I can tell, it appears as though we do not have a unanimous vote. So I'm going to have to do a roll call vote. Peter, you're going to have to list the names and how they vote, okay?
Yes, sir. I got it.
Okay, so Mark, you're the one that made the motion. I'm going to go to you first.
I abstain.
Okay, Mark abstains. Dwight, you seconded the vote. How do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, excuse me, Kate, you're the next one I see on the screen. I'll go to you next.
Aye.
Okay, Laura, I'll go to you next.
Aye.
Okay, and then there is no Rick, so that does not count as a vote. The chair chooses not to vote, the chair will not vote, and the chair's vote goes with the majority, which it appears to me, so it'll be 4 in favor and 1 abstention, so the motion carries.
On behalf of the coalition, thank you.
Okay, and just as a procedural thing, just so everybody understands, you know, technically because we're not live in together, we're supposed to do roll call votes. So what I do, that's why, you know, when I say it appears as though the ayes have it, that it's unanimous, and then I give you a few seconds because if somebody did not vote in favor or abstain, that gives you the chance to do it, and then we have to go to a roll call vote. I just, you know, we did roll call votes a couple times when we first went remote, and the meetings were taking forever. So I hope everybody's good with that. So Mark, good job, thank you. And is there any other new business from anybody else?
I just have a question.
Yes, Peter.
You said the chair did not vote and then it voted. Is that what I got?
Oh, the chair chose not to vote, so the chair can vote to create or break a tie. And if the chair doesn't vote, the chair's vote goes with the majority.
Okay, it's automatic. Got it.
So if the majority had been nay, my vote would have been a nay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, are we ready to move on then? Is there any other new business, Kate, Laura, or Dwight? Any of our guests online? I think we lost a couple more.
Yep, down to 12.
Okay, let's move right over to policy. Kate and Mark to adopt policy C8, pupil privacy. Tammy, I'm not gonna pick on you because you're not here, but I'm gonna pick on Matt. And we're not freezing up over here. Matt, was that properly posted?
It was.
Okay, it's been posted. It was voted on to, voted on to warn it and post it. It's been posted. Matt or Tammy, any comments from anybody? Any concerns expressed to y'all? Oh, Sue Newman's still here. Okay, would somebody like to make a motion to adopt policy C8, pupil privacy?
Can we make a motion to adopt all three? Or do you want them individually?
No, if you want to do all three, then let me just ask Tammy and Matt. Was A50 consent agenda prep and usage in F23 capitalization of assets posted?
All posted.
Okay, and Tammy's shaking her head, yes.
Mr. Wardrow, do you want me to show you the tack hole in it? I can show you the tack hole if you want.
If we were live, I would, because we'd be frozen. We need something to do till our computer works again. But since I'm here with Matt, I don't need it. But thank you, Tammy. So any comments to either one of you all about them? No, okay, we heard nobody's heard comments. So I would entertain a motion to adopt all three if you want to, but please state the policy number in letter and what the policy's title is.
Want me to take that, Kate? Or you want to?
You can go for it.
All right, I will move that we adopt C8 pupil privacy, A50 consent agenda preparation and usage, and F23 capitalization of assets.
Is there a second?
Kate will second.
Okay, so Mark moved, Kate seconded. Mark, any other discussion?
Nope, I'm good.
Kate?
None.
Okay, is there any other comments from anybody? Y'all ready to vote? If you're ready to vote, all in favor, please say aye.
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 It appears as though it's a unanimous vote in favor. The vote passes. So we have 3 new policies for you folks, Tammy and Matt. Thank you for your hard work. Mark, I'm sure you have another policy meeting soon.
We met 2 days ago, 3 days ago, whenever Friday was. Bill has a list of policies for the June 7th meeting.
Okay, good
11th.
job. Thank you, Kate.
June 11th. Oh, wait, yes, yeah. Sorry, Mark. June 7th for us, but then we're meeting for policy meeting on June 11th.
Okay, so we got the next meetings announced. Good job. We're flowing through this really well. Thank you, guys. And then the Wyndham Central is going to adopt a policy committee, I believe, at our reorg meeting for Wyndham Central too. I just, so we get it right, our next meeting is May 22nd in Wardsboro for the annual meeting at 10 a.m. It's not 10 p.m. as it states on our agenda. But we also then have our next school district meeting is June 3rd. June 3rd, 6 p.m. remote. And it'll be our reorganizational meeting, and we'll have a short agenda. We usually don't do a lot, but we have some things we have to cover from this meeting, including Matt and Tammy's request will be on that. But we usually try to keep that one short.
June 7th.
June
First
7th.
Monday.
I'm sorry, June 7th is the first Monday.
Okay.
So if there's nothing else, we have 3 executive session items. So you have a contractual personnel.
All 3 are contractual personnel.
Okay, so we have 3 contractual personnel issues. So Rich M, the Jedi reporter guy dude, we're gonna have to boot you out, but you've got control of the meeting, right? Or you're recording?
I'm recording, but I'm not in control of the meeting. I think Matt is right now.
Okay,
I'm not
So
sure.
we're gonna make a motion to go into executive session for personnel, please.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Mark moved. Is there a second?
Kate will second.
Okay, thank you, Kate. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, we will be right back to you, Rich and Peter. It shouldn't be a very long executive session.
Rich, Matt's gonna have to put Peter and Rich into the waiting room.
Yeah.
Hey, so at 7:41, by unanimous consent, we moved out of executive session. We have Peter, are you ready to rock and roll? And Jedi Knight, Rich, are you all good?
Yep.
Okay, so we have a letter dated May 14th, which is today, isn't it?
Today's the
17th.
Oh, it was dated on Friday from Allison Sullivan, that she's resigning. She will not be signing her teacher contract as a classroom teacher for the 21-22 school year. She has taken a position with Wyndham Central Supervisory Union as an academic support teacher. The current plan for the 21-22 school year is to work with students of the Dover School who need such support next year. Thank you for the support and respect you've always given me during my 21 years as a Dover School classroom teacher. I will continue in my role as IB coordinator for the Dover School at this time. Sincerely, Allison L. Sullivan. So the board accepts with regret, along with gratitude for Allison's 21 years of service, not only as a classroom teacher, but as our co-IB coordinator from the River Valley Board. So Matt, you can give that back to her. So that was one of the personnel issues, and we had a request for unpaid leave from a staff member. So go ahead, Mark.
I move that we grant the unpaid leave from a staff member from the end of their family leave until the 31st of the end of this year, 21.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
8 seconds.
Okay, so Mark moved and Kate seconded. Is there any discussion? Peter, do you have that down okay?
I do. Will you send me the letter if you wanted to append it or anything?
No, the letter from we don't have a letter on the family leave or the unpaid leave. We just had the letter from the resignation, and it was close enough.
That's what I mean. I just want to note that the contract is not being signed and the teacher is taking an academic support position with WCSU to work with Dover students.
Yes, that's.
Will they continue with the IB?
Yes, that they will. They'll continue to be co-IB coordinator.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so back to the motion on the table to grant unpaid family leave, to grant unpaid leave from when the family leave ends to 12/31/21. Mark moved, Kate seconded it. Are we all good to vote on that? Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Appears as though the ayes have it. The ayes have it. And then the third issue in executive session was the hiring of a classroom teacher in the elementary school in the Dover building. Mark.
So I move that we approve the administration's recommendation to hire the staff person for the elementary classroom position. Excuse me.
Okay, do I have a second to that?
8 seconds.
Thank you, Kate. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mark, for the motions. Is there any discussion? Actually, we have to, well, you'll get Bill to offer the contract.
Right.
Okay.
You have to sign the contract. All right.
Do you have it with you?
I don't have it with me because I don't have a number.
Okay, I think to Mark, could you amend your motion to allow the chair to sign the contract when it's created by the central office?
I thought I heard myself say that already.
Okay. Kate, are you good with that?
All approved.
Peter, are you good with that?
It was approve the recommendation, approve the administrator's recommendation.
For the hiring of the elementary classroom
Yes.
position and authorize the chair to sign the contract when it's created.
Well, it will so say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, if you're all ready to vote, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 It appears as though the ayes have it. The ayes have it. I believe that concludes our business. I'm sorry it took a little longer than normal, but I think it was a really good discussion, and I hope everybody got something out of it, and I promise not to be as verbose anymore.
No, we love you, Richard. We
No,
love
but
your verbosity. Your verbosity.
No,
Except when we're hungry and it's late.
My dogs are very hungry. But Kate, thank you. I mean, I'm glad that you asked for that clarification though, because it's important for you guys to know that, because if Rick and I aren't there, you don't know how you got to where you're at. So I think it was a really good discussion. And I hope we can have a bunch more of them, but in person, guys. So I'll see you all on Saturday at little before like 9:45. Please be there, except for you, Dwight. And Mark, I'll give you guys both a pass on this one, but next time I'm going to stick you on the hot seat. So,
How long should people plan for the meeting for? Like, how long do they typically last?
If it goes as long as our pre-meetings have gone, and depending on how when Dover used to postpone their meetings indefinitely and have them in May, you may not even need to get prepared. You may sit down and it may not happen. I mean, it could be really quick. I mean, has anybody heard any rumblings? I mean, I expressed the two things that I've heard that I want to address.
No.
There's some pretty loud thunder coming through Dover right now, so that kind of rumbling.
Matt came in wet, but I didn't know if maybe he was out running. He ran to the school and back or something. I didn't know if it was perspiration. If anybody hears of anything, and unfortunately more Mark and I and Laura probably aren't going to hear as much. Dwight, you and Kate will probably hear more because, you've got kids in the school and people will see you picking up your children and say, what is this the school board is doing about doing away with Matt and Tammy? So
people are happy, as far as I can tell.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. And hey, don't forget to vote too, please, though. Dwight, if you're not going to be there, stop at the town clerk's and get an absentee. Mark, did you get your absentee ballot yet?
I did not. I'm going to call Matt. I'm going to call Andy in the morning.
Okay. So let's, I'm looking for those words that we always love to hear at this time of night.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Dwight. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kate. All those in favor?
Good night.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
guys.
Thank you,
Tammy,
Richard.
thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you,
Thank you
You're
for being
welcome.
up there.
Have a
Tammy,
good meeting on Saturday,
Matt,
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, guys.
Thank you.